All right, it's 7 o'clock. I'll call the town board meeting to order for June 6th. We have our agendas in front of us. The first item on the agenda is to approve the agenda, and I see we have one addition to add in item 8A regarding a no parking zone waiver permit request. Is that it for changes to the agenda?
Yes.
All right, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved with the addition of 8A.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the agenda. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Third item on the agenda is to approve payment of the bills.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to pay bills. So those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. The minutes for the board meeting of May 16th. Any comments, corrections, deletions? If not, is there a motion to approve as submitted?
So moved as submitted.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion is made and seconded to approve the May 16 minutes. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Item 5 on the agenda is the consent agenda, and we have 6 items on the consent agenda. Steve, would you read those, please?
Alrighty. Yes, consent agenda item 5A is to reschedule the July 4th, 2016 Town Board meeting due to the holiday. Due to the 4th of July holiday, reschedule the 4th of July 2016 Town Board meeting to Wednesday, July 6th, 2016 at 7 o'clock p.m. Item 5B is appointments for the Public Safety Commission. Reappoint Stephen Lee, Richard Bruckner, and Jan Timbers to 3-year terms on the Public Safety Commission to expire April 30th, 2019. Item 5C is the annual Portland Avenue mooring request. In accordance with the Portland Avenue mooring fee policy, approve the mooring request for the 2016 boating season,
Yeah.
June 1st, 2016 through October 1, 2016 for 5373 and 5406 Portland Avenue, and notify applicant's approval is subject to a receipt of the following. Number 1, the hold harmless agreement with attached certificate of insurance, excuse me, payment of the $165 fee per site, and number 3, approval from the Ramsey County Sheriff's Department. Item 5D is an administrative driveway variance in accordance with Town Ordinance Number 35, Section 9-6.3E.3, and based on staff review and recommendations and approval, ratify Town Clerk's issuance of an administrative driveway variance to 5325 West Bald Eagle Boulevard. Item 5E is for the Ramsey County Suburban Cable Commission 2015 financial report. Based on the financial officer's review and recommendation, receive and accept the Ramsey, Washington Suburban Cable Commission's 2015 annual financial report. Item 5F, based on town engineer's review and recommendation and including his recommended conditions, approve CenturyLink permit through Telcom Construction to install buried cable to service 2625 Bartilla Court, including boring and open trenching. Make a motion to approve those 6 items of the consent agenda.
Before we make that motion, I'd like to revisit item A on the agenda, the rescheduling the July 4th board meeting. It's another one of these Monday events, and there's a lot, there are a few conflicts and other things going on. Would rescheduling July 4th to July 11 be a reasonable adjustment?
Well,
July 11th, another Monday?
Yeah, it's the following Monday.
so we have 2 Mondays in a row then. the
After
11th
that
and
one, yeah.
Are you gonna be out of town, Bob?
Yes, I am. And we have other people that are looking at being out of town as
Oh, okay.
well.
Depending.
Is that,
It-
if it can't be done, it can't be done, but that's what I'd like to suggest.
I suppose a question for the town attorney, is there an issue with having back-to-back weeks?
No,
No, we've done that before.
yeah, there's no problem.
I may be out of town, but currently I am not scheduled to be out of town, so tentatively, I would say yes, if that's necessary, I'll be gone.
Okay,
Not a problem for me.
okay, so we'll change item A on the consent agenda to read July 11 rather than July 6.
All right, so with that change, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the change of item 5A to July 11th.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please, as adjusted, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion passes. Item 6 on the agenda is old news, and we have none. So we'll move on to item 7. And the first item under new business is a 7:10 public hearing.
Can't do it.
And let's see. How about if we go down to item 7F, Ramsey County Election Services Joint Powers Agreement. Bill, can you take us through that?
I can start it. This is a matter that was referred to the town attorney as well. But the town's been approached by Ramsey County in recognition of the legislature's approval of a presidential primary for the 2020 election, which will require a new presidential primary on July 1st, 2019, which will affect the cost. It'll be a new election, basically. That'll affect the cost of services, and they want to acknowledge that in the amendment. They also indicate that the cost of the election services for regular elections, 2017, 2018, they've given us a price for that. This was referred to Chad, the town attorney, and he's got a report included in your packet. No, included in the supplement. On the last 2 pages of your supplement. So Chad's got that in front of him, he'll review that with you.
So Chad, you're suggesting we eliminate the existing draft of 7.3, paragraph 7.3?
Correct. And 7.3 is being added to the existing contract, so yes.
Okay, so we're just gonna delete that and not replace it with anything.
No, because the reason being is that they're treating the presidential primary as a special election, and really it should be treated as a regular election.
It wouldn't affect the town's, the charge to the township. It's just the mechanism that they identified for doing it, if that sounds right, Chad.
Okay,
Yes.
so basically, it's just not necessary.
I don't think so.
Okay. Any comments from the board?
Does Ramsey County have any objections to it? Or have they seen this memo, or?
No, they haven't seen it. They haven't talked to them about it.
Okay. Would it be wise to defer action on this item until we get some response from
You
Ramsey
could do
County?
that. Yep, you could either approve it tonight, subject to that, and if there's a problem, bring it back on the 20th, or we could hold action until you hear back from them on the 20th.
What's the preference of the board?
My preference would be to defer, unless we're under a time crunch, for their feedback on the suggestion.
Okay, time is not an issue here, is it?
The county would like to have it back by the end of June, so that
Oh.
works.
Well, let's table this until the June 20th board meeting.
Okay, will
Okay.
do.
And that'll give us an opportunity to check with the Ramsey County with their
Yep.
comment. Okay. All right, 7:10. So let's go back to 7A on the agenda, and that's a public hearing regarding Southwinds Holding LLC, applications for conditional use permit and standard use permit approvals. Tom, that's yours?
It is, yes.
Okay.
Want a motion to waive the reading?
Yes. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to waive the reading of the hearing notice since it's been published, properly published. Okay, Tom?
Yeah, Bald Eagle Quick Stop is located up on Highway 61 North, just south of County Road J. It started out as a convenience store, a sporting goods store, convenience with gas. A liquor store was added, and then a strip center attached onto that. It's seen some modifications to the facade over the years, and they're looking at doing that once again. So on the overhead here, you can see this will be the look of the site once they're, if they get approval, once they've completed their plans. This is a general business zoning district. There's the convenience store, a pizza shop at the end, and a scuba shop. All permitted uses in the zoning district, but also there's a hair salon and a liquor store, and both of those are conditional uses. No changes to the businesses are planned at all. It's merely just changes to the facade of the building to upgrade some things, but we're processing this as a conditional use permit because some of the uses are conditional and some are permitted, so it's kind of a dual purpose permit here.
So
You can-
we're not changing any of the non-conditional use.
Nope.
Okay.
Just a facelift.
Yep, just a facelift. The zoning certificates that were adopted in the past would say the same. It's just referencing new plans, again, reflecting what they're doing. They're modifying 3 sides of the building, the 2 sides in the front. Roof line is changing, new siding, new canopy and posts.
Okay.
But the uses all stayed the same. So this was what was reviewed by the Planning Commission in April, and the group recommended approval as requested.
Okay. And the applicant is in compliance with existing conditional use and standard permit conditions?
Yeah, we're working on one thing, but yes.
Okay, all right. Any other initial questions from the board? If not, I'll ask for a motion to open the meeting for public hearing, to the public for comment.
Motion made to open the public hearing.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we're now open for public comments. Is there anyone in attendance that would like to address or make comments to this issue? Not going once, going twice? Done. Is there a motion to close the public comments?
So,
Is there a second?
second.
Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. So, what's, any comments from the board? It looks pretty straightforward to me, but,
No, I think it makes sense. It's just, like I said, a facelift and updating the property, so.
okay. And there's no substantial changes to the property. The planning commission did they have any comments, Ed? or-
Actually, I think they appreciated Larry doing the cosmetic upgrades. Kind of helps the curb appeal right along 61 there. And we're going to have something else maybe coming down the line just south of there, so I think this helps the appearance on 61, so.
Okay.
But based on that, as liaison to the planning commission, I'll move based on their recommendations, staff review and recommendations, that we approve the conditional use permit and permitted use standards permit with attached requirements for 5960 Highway 61. This is to allow the exterior modifications to the commercial site.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to approve conditional use permit and standard permit applications for 5960 Highway 61 modifications. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Next item on the agenda, 7B, is another public hearing scheduled for 7:15, and it is 7:15. And this is regarding an application from Viking Auto Repair. Is there a motion to, no proper publication?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Tom, this is yours?
This is mine also, yeah, a request for continuation or issuance of a new special home occupation permit for Viking Auto. This is on Otter Lake Road, just north of this building here. It's property that's zoned residential, and it's an auto repair shop. It's run out of the rear of the property and requires approval of a special home occupation permit. First issued in 2001, same owner since then. That was a one-year permit that was approved temporarily. In 2002, the permit was reviewed again and issued for 2 years. 2004, reviewed again, issued for 2 years. 2006, a 5-year issuance of the permit. And in 2011, another 5-year permit. And that expires any day now. So the request is for continuation of the special home occupation permit. Can't approve these for more than a period of 5 years, but Mr. Lawrence is asking approval of a 5-year permit. When adopted, it came with a number of conditions as outlined in your packet here. 23 conditions. Some of the things included in that. It's an occupation, but it has to be clearly incidental to the residential use of the property. Cannot have any disturbance of any neighbors as far as creating electrical interference, noise, things like that. The exterior storage is limited to vehicles waiting for repair, and that's the 15 is the number that it's limited to. Home occupations have to comply with the building code and the Uniform Fire Code, Public Nuisance Ordinance. There should be no exterior evidence of a special home occupation, and that's a requirement out of the zoning ordinance. Home occupation is not supposed to generate traffic higher than normal for a regular residential home. Vehicles have to be parked in the existing garage or behind the home. No repair outside of the garage, only in the garage. The home occupation permit is issued to Mr. Lawrence and is not transferable. No outside storage of parts or equipment. Automotive fuels that are stored have to meet the fire inspector requirements. These are, fire inspector inspects the business on a yearly basis. No bodywork or painting of customer vehicles permitted. 40 hours per week work maximum. Permit was issued for a period of 5 years, again expiring here in June. And there was a requirement to put a privacy fence along the northerly property line, and that has to be maintained. So again, a 5-year permit is being reviewed and requested. Planning Commission reviewed the permit, did recommend approval of another 5-year extension. Should also mention one other item that Mr. Lawrence had talked about, but brought in a request, and that's for a sign. Currently he has a small Viking Auto sign hanging from his mailbox. I believe it's less than 1.5 feet in square footage, which is what's permitted. He'd like to put a 6-foot sign up. The sign ordinance is not real clear when it comes to residential signs being permitted, or business signs being permitted in a residential district, with the exception of real estate signs. And the ordinance says you can have a real estate sign, it can't be more than 1.5 feet in area. Or if you set it back 10 feet from the property line, it could go up to 6 feet. And if you have a large development, you could have a larger sign. But it really doesn't talk about business-related signs in a residential use. So that issue was not discussed by the Planning Commission, but Mr. Lawrence is also requesting approval of the 6-square-foot sign, in addition to approval of the special home occupation permit.
Tom, this is a renewal. The last time it was renewed was 2011?
2011, exactly, yes.
Okay. All right. Why don't we open the public hearing portion? Is there a motion?
Just one thing first, Tom. I thought we discussed, if the sign goes bigger, don't we have to amend the ordinance for home occupation to do that?
I guess I'd have to look at the zoning section of that again to see.
I wasn't sure we could do that under this conditional use permit. I thought we had to go back and amend the ordinance, so, because if we do it for this occupation, then that opens it up for all home occupations for 6 square feet.
It would, yes. And my recollection, but I do need to take a look, is that, you know, the zoning ordinance allows signs per the sign ordinance. So it defers to the sign ordinance. And that's what I went over in the size option, but generally just dealing with real estate.
But so is that something we can do under this, or we're gonna have to go back and have the planning commission look at amending the ordinance?
No, it would be allowed under the ordinance, it's just not very clear. It probably should be defined better in the sign ordinance. So it should go back to the planning commission for discussion, or that would be a good recommendation
All right.
relative to the signing.
For that specific
For
item.
that specific part of it.
I guess that's what I assumed at the end of the meeting, but
Okay. Steve, any
No,
initial
I
comments?
had a question on that sign ordinance
Okay.
business also. So.
Okay, so is there a motion then to open the meeting to public comment?
Motion to open the public portion of the meeting?
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's made and seconded. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, with that, the applicant is here. Did Tom cover everything? Would you like to add any additional comments? If you do, please come to the podium here and identify yourself and
My name
address.
is Michael Lawrence, and I own the property. During the planning commission, they more talked about a variance instead of amending the ordinance. And it's only because, you know, with what's happened in the neighborhood in the last 15 years, I've got Water Gremlin across the street that's, you know, right across the street that built this huge parking lot. And even one of the guys on the planning commission drove by there a couple times and he couldn't find my place. So, I don't know. These things make me nervous. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right, anything else?
No, I don't want to change anything or anything. I just want to be a little bit more visible.
So
I mean, I've
sign-
always kept everything clean around there. I don't leave parts or engines laying around. You know,
Yeah, I know, and we
I'm very
discussed,
respectful for my neighbors.
I don't think that sign is out of place there because of the commercial area there.
Right.
But I just felt a little sensitive about allowing it there. I'm pretty sure, I think that's gonna allow all home occupations to have a
But that's
6-foot
why
sign.
they were talking about a variance for that particular.
Yeah, I'm
spot.
not sure if that's probably the proper way to go, but I think we
And
can
it's just a
still.
little, it would only be 3 foot by 2 foot. It's not like I'm gonna put something like they got.
And Tom, what's the size now?
I've got one about this big by this big, under my mailbox.
But what's the allowed?
Well, 18 square inches or
Okay.
6 feet if it's set back far enough.
Oh, so a 6-foot sign would be, 6 square feet would be allowed with a greater setback.
Correct.
All right, okay.
Well, is that
Okay.
something you would be willing to do?
Well, you mean 6 foot from the roadway or 6 foot?
No,
I-
the 6-foot sign would have to be back, what, past the setback, the right of way?
Yeah, I'm looking for the requirement.
On my
I wanna
property,
say it's-
I've got a purple post with my letters on there and
I'm
stuff.
familiar with it.
And I was gonna just remove that and the rocks there and kind of put it right there next to the driveway, kind of similar to what Water Gremlin's got. It'd be set back probably 4 or 5 feet from the roadway. I don't know what I'm not sure what the setbacks are.
Well, Tom will find that
I'll
out.
find it in a second.
As Tom mentioned, the planning commission did not have that as part of their packet to review. And Tom also pointed out that there are parts of our old sign ordinance that are in need of updating. It'd be worthy to consider referring this matter, or maybe even the sign ordinance, back to the planning commission, but at least relative to what would be a complete application. Because what you see now, the planning commission, on the sign, the planning commission.
I think that it makes good sense. It'd be prudent on the sign part to make sure we're, you know, it's not a matter of judging you, it's the broader effect of how it affects other home occupancies.
I understand that.
And so we need to make sure we're comfortable for every home occupancy. So I agree with that. I think this portion should be deferred, not necessarily your home occupancy renewal.
I hope not. Okay,
Okay,
thank
The
you.
requirement I was looking for is a 10-foot setback for a 6-foot sign from all property lines.
okay. And that's part of the existing sign ordinance?
Correct.
All right.
But no, when you're saying 10 from the existing property line, is that from the road right of way property line?
Any property line
So you're talking, what's the setback, 35 feet there? What's the
Yeah.
road right away?
for the home.
So that'd be 10 feet plus the 35?
So it'll be about 45 feet
Right,
from the center
so
of the road.
that might not work
From the
either.
center of the road.
Yeah, we'll
Well,
have
it's
to
one
look at it.
solution, but, all right, any other comments? Questions? If not, one more chance. If not, is there a motion to close the public comment portion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Comments from the board?
I think in reviewing the material, there have been no, he said he makes a special effort to get along with neighbors. There have been no complaints, correct?
Not since 2001,
2001.
last one I could find.
One item in there said the town code enforcement officer shall inspect that property. That happened. That's all, doesn't have to be annual. It was just at the beginning or
Well, it's part of the business license program. I believe it is annual.
annual? Okay.
And likewise, the fire inspection.
Annual.
And fire inspection. Okay. All right, those are my questions.
Any other comments, questions?
Nope, sitting on the, as liaison to the planning commission, I'd move to approve the renewal of the special home occupation permit with the attached requirements. This is for a 5-year period from June 6th, 2016 through June 5th, 2021, subject to the execution of the applicant of the agreement. And then noting that we will send this back to the planning commission and review that sign ordinance for you.
Thank you.
So just to be clear, you'll have to come back with a specific
I won't say.
request just for the sign.
Okay.
Okay. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. There's no further discussion. Those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion passes. So the easy way out for you here is just to leave the sign as it is, but if you're really interested in that 6-square-foot sign, you'll have to come back to the town with a specific request for that. And I think it's still worth putting it on the planning commission agenda somewhere down the road to review that sign ordinance.
Well, if nothing else, just for some housekeeping to make
Yes.
sure we're
Yep.
in compliance.
Yeah.
You were interested in a smaller sign though also. You said 36 by 24, did I hear you say? Or did you?
Yeah, that's what I'm, yeah, I don't want it's 6 square feet, but it's just
Okay.
3 feet by 2 feet. And then I was gonna do like Bill Napoli used to do, is have, you know, like some bricks around it and a monument
Okay.
sign and put some flowers there. I'll make it look nice.
Okay.
It's just, you know,
Right. Well,
everything that's gone on there, there's a lot more traffic than there used to be. And a lot of people still just drive by and I've had have people come in and I've been there for 17 years and they never knew it.
okay. Well, like I said, the planning commission will take a look at the sign ordinance, but before you do anything, check with Tom or the township regarding the sign, just to make sure if there's any specific requirements you'll have to apply for, we're all on the same page here.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is 7C, and that's a public hearing regarding ordinance number 35, regarding a zoning, or amending the zoning language.
I'll move to waive the reading.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, Bill, is this yours?
Nope, this
I'll take
Tom's.
it.
Oh,
Tom's will get.
Yeah, we're reviewing one definition proposed for the planning commission, or for the zoning ordinance, I should say, reviewed by the planning commission, and that's what defines initiation of a permit. This was an issue that came up, whether a permit had been facilitated or not, because it had been applied for but not paid for. And so the planning commission discussed definitions of a permit and came up, definitions of initiation, and came up with a recommendation that says, adding to the zoning ordinance 3-34A, which would, the recommended wording was, what constitutes initiation of a permit. It means a permit must be applied for, determined by the town to be complete, and paid for to be considered initiated. And that was a definition that was recommended by the Planning Commission. Some feedback from the town board relative to the definition, and another option that could be considered, which might be recommended, is initiation of a permit means a permit must be received, determined by the town to be complete, and payment received to be considered initiated. Similar message, just different wording. So a definition has been recommended for addition to the zoning ordinance by the Planning Commission.
And that, did the board find that language in the, it's in the in the supplement? And I'll take the hit for the board contribution to modify that language. I was concerned that the language from the commission was left a little too much room for reinterpretation here. I was concerned that we should be a little more specific in the requirement, so that there's no doubt that the township will receive the application. And there's no doubt that the township will receive the payment for the permit application.
Chad, have you reviewed this? Do we seem to have this covered?
Yes, I have. And I like the new definition.
Okay.
I think it's pretty clear, concise.
Okay. Any other discussion?
No, I think the intent here is just clean it up to make it clear. And
Okay.
I think this does.
Okay. So is there a motion on the action requested?
Now you gotta open up the,
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead of myself. All right, is there a motion to open for public comment?
so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Anyone in the audience care to comment on the proposed ordinance amendment?
It's a pretty hot ticket item.
I can see them lining up already in the next county. All right, with that, I'll ask for a motion to close the public comment.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, now we can ask for the board action.
Seeing as how Planning Commission reviewed this, and as liaison, I'll move based on their review and staff review and recommendations that we amend Section 3 concerning definitions to adding Section 3.34.A, which shall read as follows: initiation of a permit. Initiation of a permit means a permit must be applied for, determined by the town to be complete, and paid for this to be considered initiated.
Mr. Chair, we actually had in the
Oh,
supplement.
that's right. What was the difference there, though?
Yes, it's
It's about halfway through the supplement. You can see where the shaded area represents the changes. So if you'd like to read what that complete initiation of permit is, it's written there.
All right, so
I think that pretty much says what you said.
I thought it
But-
did, but,
It's
There's
slightly
one
different.
difference.
The couple,
all right, it says, initiation of a permit means a permit application must be received, determined by the town to be complete, and payment received to be considered initiated.
thank you.
Is that your motion?
I guess so. Yeah, it is.
But that's the intent that
Correct.
you described. All right. Is there a second to that motion?
second.
Any further discussion? If not, those in favor of the motion to amend the section 3-34, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next item on the agenda is 7D, and that is our annual report from the YMCA, and I see we have the representative here.
Shane Hofer is here, but I wanted to give the town board just a little introduction. In 2009, the town board entered into an agreement, a multi-party agreement to contribute funds to the expansion and renovation of the White Bear YMCA. And with that commitment by the town, there was also a commitment by the YMCA to provide certain services to the town. Shane has presented a year-end summary on these special services that were provided for town residents each of the last 5 years. The last year of the agreement was 2015. And so this would be Shane's last official recap of how the YMCA has provided those services.
Thank you, Bill, Mr. Chairman, supervisors, staff, thank you very much. It's a privilege and an honor to be here. Congratulations, especially Chairman Kermes, Bill, Tom. It's your last deal where you were actually required and obligated to hear me talk this through. So you've heard the talk before. There's some updated numbers, certainly. I'll begin actually by directing your attention to this morning's Pioneer Press. And front page article this morning describing a program that our YMCA operates in partnership with the North St. Paul Maplewood Oakdale School District in an elementary school in a low-income housing complex. I'll share with you, while that is far from here where we sit, 8 miles maybe, that is a program that wouldn't be here today were it not for the partnership that we struck and agreed to 6 years ago. And I would also say, as you turn and you look in the rearview mirror in the last 6 years, and you note the literally about 4,000 to 5,000 students that have come through our water safety partnership through the school district, the dozen or so swim seasons that have taken place with the girls and boys high school swimming and diving team, 5 or 6 years now of safe and successful operations at Bel Air Beach. None of those things would have happened were it not for your leadership and the similar leadership from the city of White Bear Lake area schools. Those involved in the wine, of course, are volunteers and donors that supported this initiative. So thank you. And I think, and I hope and pray this is something that all parties involved can look back on and be very proud of. So I'll share with you sort of briefly the numbers that we have. What I'm going to share with you is a snapshot at 2015. In the last couple of years, I'd been sharing with you cumulative numbers as they'd been growing because I thought, oh gosh, that looks really cool. But the numbers got big. And then as I came in, I wanted to give you a snapshot at the end of the 5-year agreement. You know, what does that look like? Do we still have a lot of residents from the township participating in this most recent window of time? And so as Bill shared, this is for the calendar year 2015. Year 5 of our contract was 2015, closed December 31. And so these numbers are through there. Now, the contractually specified community benefits that we provided were the following: a waiver of our enrollment fee, a set of guest passes available for residents to use, a discount for non-member swimming lessons, free community events, a senior health fair, financial aid, and then I'll describe a total community financial benefit as well. And so as you look, you know, I think probably what I'll take away is that in the last year, we had about 162 families take advantage of the enrollment fee waiver. Over 1,000 households took advantage of that over the course of the 5 years. With the guest passes, 135 households took advantage of that opportunity in the last year. More than 650 over the 5 years of the partnership. 84 families enjoyed the non-member swim lesson discount. More than 400 households took advantage of that over the 5-year period. We had a variety of community events the past year, highlighted perhaps by Bill's favorite, Pancakes with Santa. He made a great, no, I'm kidding, he wasn't our Santa, but maybe for next year. It was a really fun event. Actually, I was going to say that the highlight probably is our senior health fair. About 700 of our residents and folks from around the community attend, and really it's one of the few places they can go and be able to talk to grocery stores, doctors, banks, any service that's relevant to our older adults in our community. Financial aid set a new record this last year. I'm not sure if that's a positive or negative. It's great that we can reach out. I think it also speaks to need in our community, certainly. We gave out just shy of $400,000 in financial aid, and about $54,000 of that was dispersed to residents of the township. In 2015 alone, White Bear Township residents realized This is a monetized number of the benefits that I described above. About $295,000 in one type of benefit or another that stemmed from the agreement. The last document I wanted to share with you, there's 2 pages here, and both are available for folks as they're coming in. They'll be hopefully part of the record. Is this resident geographic heat map. And so in more regular terms, this map describes the density of residents and households throughout the township of those who are participating at the Y. So the Y is described with a red star on the map toward the very bottom in the middle. And when the takeaway for me anyway was that when we made this agreement for the first time, we had thought that perhaps we would only have about that quadrant right underneath Bel Air Beach participating, maybe a few folks from around in the more downtown area or up by Bald Eagle. And that's not the case. We continue to have robust participation from a large swath of the township. I was joking with one of the supervisors before that about the only section not participating is the North Oak section up in that general area. And I think you shared with me there's only 5 homes up there and 2 of them are vacant. So
Not gonna get a big turnout from that round.
So anyway, it just gives you a visual representation of where people are coming from. People have been absolutely willing to drive down to the Y for this. And so I thank you. It has been a phenomenal partnership. We continue to do that, and I do hope to return at your invitation. So with that, I'll pause and ask if you have any questions.
Well, first of all, Shane, thank you for giving us the information, the presentation here. I think it's been a good relationship over the 5 years. There have been some surprises along the way, usually pleasant surprises. And one example is your map here. The Y is competing with other opportunities, Lifetime Fitness, for example, and that's right up in the area of those northern heat spots there, hot spots that you have here. So it's impressive that you draw that much participation from that area. So thank you for that. And I don't know if you really want to congratulate Bill and me that this is the last time we hear from you, because I think we'd be pleased to hear from you in future years to just update us on why services and events and the township's place in that. And I would like to remind you, I think you're aware, we have our annual Township Day every September, so there's always an interest in seeing the Y represented at that event, and it helps both of us out, gives you a chance to promote the Y in the township again. So that's a thought to keep in mind.
Terrific. Thank you.
Talk to Tom. Any other comments, questions from the board?
Shane, I just have one. Have you noticed a significant drop with all the construction and traffic and detours, or is it not affecting the Y?
We're blessed to be located near that 694 White Bear Avenue interchange. I've never used the word blessed to describe that before, but that one happens to be relatively free of congestion other than, with the 694 tie-ups in the morning.
But with residents coming from the north part of the township, it really
is. This is a personal comment. I also live on this side of town. I live near Willow Lane Elementary School. And I've been joking with friends that there must be a MnDOT bias against those of us on the east side of town lately, because it doesn't really matter which way you want to go. They're all bad.
True. Have you seen a change in the programming? I mean, I know you've always had great youth services, but are you seeing more in the retired as demographics have more and more retirees? You have a Silver Sneakers program. Is that increasing?
Absolutely. Our largest growing demographic at the YMCA is age 55 plus. And so I should also add that sort of an altruism about retirees, if you will, is that you've got people, at least 3 different generational or behavioral segments within that population with three very, very different kinds of interests. You have younger baby boomers who still want to play and have fun like they were 25, and you've also got folks who are closer to the other end of the spectrum, who are looking for more sedate experience, so to speak, who want what we call exercises for daily living, things that are going to help them be mobile, be able to up and down stairs okay, and keep going on this stuff. But it's been a significant growth area for us, and I would add, you know, we continue to see the demographics of the south part of town change, and then obviously the Y is heavily influenced by parts of Maplewood, North St. Paul, that are immediately adjacent to 694. And so those communities are continuing to undergo a lot of change too. And so you see a lot of families aging in place because as communities are doing a great job keeping people in their homes. You're also seeing as housing stock turns over, those homes are more affordable. And so you see a lot of young families coming in, and they're coming from a lot of interesting and different places that, you know, in our community maybe weren't the case in the past. And so we've got new immigrant families, you have Hmong families, Latino families, African American families that simply haven't been a quote unquote traditional part of the culture here. And that's exciting, it's energizing, and it also is called for the Y an opportunity for us to initiate new programs to serve the specific needs of those communities.
Thank you, Shane.
My pleasure, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, 7E on the agenda. We have
Want
a,
a motion to receive the information here?
good idea. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second to receive the presentation materials?
Second.
Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Again, thank you, Shane. All right, now 7E on the agenda is regarding a stop sign request.
Right, the town board may turn to page 98 of your packet. Kara Hampton and Robert are here to present the letter that Kara sent in the board received on the 25th regarding the intersection of Portland, Mallard Ponds, and Short Street in the north part of the township. So you can read it, but I think we have the author. And the author can read it to you.
I read it.
I've read it.
So we're familiar with it. I guess there's a couple of things, unless there's any other comments you would like to add to the letter, we can just address the letter. All right. One of the primary issues here is Portland is really a county road, so it's not a Whitebeard Township jurisdiction issue. And Short Road is the same, isn't it?
It's the extension of Washington County Road 7, and it has a short Ramsey County State Aid Highway designation. So the intersection that Kara identifies is the intersection of two Ramsey County State Aid highways. And so they have the jurisdiction regarding traffic control.
So that was my first thought reading the letters. You really need to go, if it's an issue you want to pursue, you really have to go to the county and talk to them about it.
But Bill, is that something we could initiate, maybe a traffic count for the township to at least get an idea how many vehicles are actually using it?
Yep, Ramsey County constantly monitors and records traffic counts on their major roads. So the Ramsey County traffic engineer will have counts for that road already. And the way the county operates, you guys might already be familiar with it. There's certain warrants that traffic engineers use to determine what the traffic controls of any intersection, including controls like speed limits, speeds, or yield, stop signs, things like that. So this letter, the board can refer this letter to Ramsey County Public Works with your information on it and see what they have to say. It'll be referred to their traffic engineers, and they'll go through the arithmetic with you, try to explain to you. As you know, as a county state aid highway, it has a function that must be maintained according to state standards. And the traffic control relates in large part to the function intersection that the road serves, what the volumes are, and the best way to handle traffic. Okay, so if you haven't been through it before, you'll have a chance to learn a little bit about traffic engineering.
And I'm sure you're seeing a lot of traffic now because they're all trying to get around as much as 61 as they can.
Exactly, and specifically to, the homes in Diamond Point East and West, with 130th now having that stop sign, it's constantly, even just us moving in, people commented how fast people are turning that corner and how much traffic there is. So how frequently do they, do this traffic count? Is this something they do on an annual basis?
We'll find out.
Steve, any questions?
No, how many homes are actually being built there?
Six?
There's
On
six.
the development, right now, there's just 6.
We forgot to ask Karen
Yeah.
to go to the mic.
You have to introduce yourself then with your address.
Kara Hampton. My husband Robert. So right now, in that
And
particular,
can you give us the address?
our address?
2710 Short Street.
Okay.
Post office still isn't quite over there.
But you've got like 9 names there, I think.
Yeah, full of share there.
We have to get that information for the record, and also you're on TV, so they want to know who they're listening to.
Well, that's who it is. So yeah, there's gonna be a total of 6 new homes being built, so we're the first, of the homes, and there's currently 2 that have started.
And one faces Portland, one faces Short, I think.
Right now, the 2, well,
Yours
ours
is on.
faces Short, and the other one that's, further along to finish also, faces Short Street as well.
Okay.
And then the other, there's 3 other homes that will be facing Portland, and the one corner one, I'm not sure if that's gonna face Portland or Short, where exactly the drive is gonna be. So,
Okay.
and then right across from us is the other residential area with Mallard Ponds.
Any other questions?
No.
I guess what I would like to suggest is that we receive the letter and we'll offer to refer it to Ramsey County Public Works.
And Bill, is this something maybe just send back to public safety, have them review after we get it? Get the information back?
Sure, they'll be of interest to them to receive.
We have a
that
public safety
report.
commission that looks a lot at stop signs, speed limit, traffic issues, so.
Okay.
Once we get a feedback back from the county, we'll send it to them and have them review it also and see what we can do.
But
Okay.
we'll make sure you get it to them.
If we can just give a little bit of back history, I'm a career firefighter with the city of St. Louis Park for 20 years, and public safety is incredibly important to me. And I've actually just moved out here 2 weeks ago, trying to get away from the inner ring to the, country, if you will. And it kind of baffles me, just the volume of vehicles that are moving through this area. And it's not just the diverting, it's the kids and the motorcycles that get around that corner and then start burning out as soon as they're going west on Short Street 122. I mean, it turns like into an instant expressway, so I don't know if the board has any option to talk to law enforcement in the area, just to have a presence there to get people to slow down, because we have young kids, and chances are somebody else in this area is gonna have young kids too, and literally, we've only been in the house a little over a week, and today was one of the first days that I've just sat and worked in the yard, and it's constant horns from people either blowing through stop signs and almost intersecting with people that don't have stop signs. So it just seems like an incredibly reckless area for a little bit. It needs some level of better traffic control.
And I
Well,
believe.
there are stop signs on Short.
Yes.
So there's 2 stop signs there, and so
But it's
you're
usually the
touching
people
on a
that
law
go
enforcement
north on
issue.
Portland, and then they turn on
Yeah.
to Short, and then it's like balls to the walls going west.
Well,
East.
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 and the reason I bring it up is being new to the area, maybe you may not be familiar with the law enforcement arrangement here, but
Absolutely.
Ramsey County Sheriff provides law enforcement services to the township. So there's a good connection here, and we receive good services from the sheriff's department. So if there's traffic issues and obvious violations, law enforcement tries to stay on top of that, but like anybody else, they would appreciate a little bit of help and notification from what other people are observing. So,
Yeah.
Bill,
that's-
isn't Portland scheduled to be reconstructed or
Yeah.
overlaid this year?
Yeah, you're gonna benefit from an overlay project this summer.
They may get a
That'll slow
little
things
slowdown
down.
there.
It'll slow down the traffic, but increase the number of honking horns probably. The sheriff's department has been asked by the town board on several occasions to, and they have done it, follow up on speed and stop line violations at that particular intersection. So they're very familiar with it. We'll ask them that summer's here, that step it up, and you'll see them.
You'll also see south on Portland towards the other way, they're going to be putting in crosswalk, I believe it, down further. So that, either they're going to make them go faster after they get past the crosswalk or have them slow down. I believe the speed limit there is 35, and then it drops to 25 as it goes around by Onika.
Just short.
Nope. As Portland continues.
North of Short,
35 and then it goes to 50.
north of Short, it slows, well, there's a warning posting for those curves at 25 miles an hour. And that's just north of Short.
Warning, huh?
So,
Suggestion.
well, that's why we bring up the sheriff and the enforcement issue, so,
Well, just outside here, this stop sign here is only temporarily because of all the traffic generated by the construction. And that may be something they might consider also.
So as far as we're concerned, what would be next steps? What do we need to do on our end to help?
I'll pass it on to Ramsey County Public Works, with the specific request to consider stop signs, and they'll get back to us on that. But I'll also contact the Ramsey County Sheriff's Department Traffic Unit and ask them to, it's already on their list. I'll say another request has come in. And it's really important to note, however, that as a county state aid highway, it is intended, built, and paid for with gas tax, and as such, the Ramsey County Public Works Department does have responsibilities to maintain the volumes. It's a matter of enforcing the regulations. Okay.
And then we will be communicated with via
Yes.
email? Okay.
Yep.
Great.
You may hear, in fact, the sheriff's deputy, if it's okay with you, may contact you directly.
Yes.
They may ask what times of day you notice or any particular vehicles. They love the specifics.
Okay.
A lot of pickups with lift kits.
That's also kind of a favorite ride for motorcycles going the back roads.
And we have a motorcycle too, so that's a wonderful stretch of highway. And
Yeah.
You can see why it has the volume. But, yeah, a lot of burnouts.
okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, is there a motion to receive and refer?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion is made to receive the letter and to refer it to the Ramsey County Public Works Department. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Next item on the agenda is 7G, Eagle Park. Tom, that's yours?
Yes, Eagle Park is on the list of improvements in this year's capital improvement program and budget. Looking at redoing the tennis court, just to, not repaving, but improving the surfacing. Redoing the shelter roof, and then also expanding or replacing the playground, I should say. So the park board's been working on this. They held a neighborhood meeting here back in, I believe it was April. Got some input via email and phone calls from residents up there. Had a couple of kids and their dad attend the park board meeting and provide quite a bit of input for us. We put together a request for proposals based on the input and published that. And we got 4 proposals back from 2 different playground equipment companies. Those were reviewed by the park board. They were also reviewed by the kids who were in attendance. They came to the office and picked their choice. And of the 4 proposals, the one that was recommended was the St. Croix Recreation proposal right here, with utilizing primarily traditional playground equipment. We looked at a proposal that also had some themed playground equipment. These guys provided 3 proposals, but this is the one that was recommended. specifications, it also includes a couple of sitting benches with specifications by the town, and, one other thing, I forget.
Some adult.
Thank you. The exercise pieces for the adults, kids too. It's a package deal. They'll take out the existing equipment that's there, they will grade the site, they will provide concrete curbing and sidewalks, providing handicap accessibility throughout that park. It's gonna go to the shelter, it's gonna go to the playground, it's gonna go to the tennis courts. They'll install the equipment and put the surfacing in, so it'll be a whole package deal. The town will do a little bit of cleanup at the end, final grade and seed. Proposed amount was $66,000. We said the proposals could not exceed that amount. The 4 proposals we received all were at that amount.
Tom, what's the surface?
Surfacing is an engineered wood fiber.
So it's like a mulch?
It's like wood chips, but they're engineered so they
Knit together?
they're joined together, kind of creating a large mattress once they've been there for a while. It's handicapped accessible material.
So there's no maintenance to it then?
Yeah, and there's adding more chips.
Oh,
Adding more chicks.
A
Great.
lot of
Great.
maintenance. So this is the option that's been recommended for approval by the park board. Again, the total amount is $66,000. It was budgeted. And,
So it's been budgeted for 2016,
yes,
and the project would be completed this year then?
yes.
All right, any other questions from the board?
Well, I'll just make a comment that this continues on our park board and town board theme of adding multi-age equipment to our parks, because the generations are changing such that we want to make sure that it appeals to not only the young kids, but the older kids as they grow, and then adults. And that's why they're adding some, 2 pieces of equipment, some for, I guess one is for more just agility and one is for strength. But in addition to that, we are making sure we have a handicap accessible swing apparatus that has been requested, and it's kind of standard in our
We're gonna
parks.
trade out one strap seat for a handicapped accessible seat. It can go in the same bay as the other strap seat. There's also a tot seat, so 3 total. And then a recommendation from the park board to take out a smaller 4-foot slide, and that's been exchanged for a climbing piece rather than a
so
slide.
Tom, are the grandkids gonna have to teach the grandparents how to use the exercise equipment?
Well, maybe.
Could be.
What, Tom, what's St. Croix gonna do with the old equipment?
It's theirs too.
Theirs to dispose, utilize, recycle?
I had one neighbor contact me that's a week or so ago that said, I can't believe the merry-go-round's there. What are you gonna do with it? Are you gonna throw it away? And I said, well, it goes to St. Croix Recreation, they'll dismantle it. But I did give the representative that
Okay.
residence number.
The other piece of encouragement is that, you know, we have this program to go forward into the neighborhoods to ask for their input. And the little kids that came and talked to us about what they wanted, you know, they're the future. And we designed some of this with them in mind.
Well, that's the direct user comment. All right.
So.
Ed, you have any questions?
So as a liaison to the park board, based on the park board and town planner review and recommendation, I make a motion to approve the St. Croix Recreation Option 3 equipment for the total budget amount of not to exceed $66,000.
Okay, is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the St. Croix Recreation Equipment Purchase Proposal. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. 7H on the agenda is Township Day.
Yeah, the recommendation basically seems a little awkward, but it's a recommendation for communication between the chair of the park board and chair of the Economic Development Advisory Board relative to Township Day. And more specifically in contacting township businesses, having our representative contact them for support of the event, And one of the things we don't have is email addresses. So that was the gist of the communication. It's really not much more of a recommendation than that, just to work with the EDAB, to also get contact email addresses in addition to phone numbers and other information.
So, really, rather than an approval to write letters, would we be better off just acknowledging the park board's interest in communicating with the EDAB and support that?
Yeah, that
Okay.
would be great.
I can appreciate the park board wanting to follow
Yeah.
the organization and the channels and all that, but,
Yeah. The group had a nice joint meeting with the
Yes, they
EDAB
did.
and the park board here a couple months ago, so.
Yeah, I think there was good communication and good ideas, but it kind of got dropped, and I think that's the piece that needs to get connected, is to continue to, the chairs at least, to work forward and see what we can do to strengthen our township day,
okay.
business communication and involvement.
Okay, Ed, did you have any questions?
No.
So with that, Tom, do you really need a formal authorization, or do you have enough comment from the board? that
Yeah,
you
I
can-
think if you just received the recommendation,
Okay.
that would be great.
All right. So motion to receive. the-
Motion made to receive the park board recommendations for better communication with the EDAB
Okay.
board.
I'll second the motion.
Motion's made and seconded. Those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion passes. 7I on the agenda is Park Board Chair and Vice Chair appointments.
Recommendation from the April meeting to elect Chuck Archer as Chair of the Planning Park Board. The Commission's right, that's the Park Board. Chuck has served as Chair for many years. And then Scott Lombardi, who is one of our newer members, was recommended for the Vice Chair for the Park Board for 2016 going into 2017.
Okay. Steve, you were involved in that discussion?
I was. The vice chair currently apparently was not interested in proceeding into another one, so Scott volunteered to do that, and he's a good, solid member. So I think their decisions are good, and I'd make a motion based on the Park Board recommendation, appoint Charles Chuck Archer, 5343 Eagle Street as the chair of the Park Board, and Scott Lombardi at 5471 Franklin Avenue as vice chair for the coming year.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's made and seconded to appoint Chuck Archer and Scott Lombardi as Chair and Vice Chair for the Park Board. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We have one added agenda item, that's item 8. It's a request for a no parking zone waiver permit.
Yep. Put it in your supplement on the first 2 pages. Our cover sheet for this added agenda item. And then on the second sheet is a staff memo prepared by Patty Wallstead, who received a phone call this afternoon at 2:30 from Jolene Velou at 1259 Greenbrier Court. That's part of the Brandonwood, I think the Brandonwood Farms coach home development. They're requesting a no parking waiver for that part of Outerview Trail that's posted no parking. Jolene did not wish to wait until June 20th because her event is so soon after the 20th that she felt that she needed to be able to make her plans ahead of time. So Patty received the information that the Toronto Town would normally receive in writing over the phone, and then Patty wrote it up. Jolene is requesting to have the no parking lifted from Greenbrier Court south to Brandonwood Road. Oops, and I was going to get a map, but I didn't, and I apologize for that. For a 1-day period to allow for graduation guests, some of which are coming from Kansas. She further stated that Greenbrier Court is a shared driveway and not very large. It's a dead-end street with a lot of driveways on it, so there's really not that much parking available on Greenbrier Court. The town board has granted no parking zone waiver requests for residents in the past. The most recent was in May of 2015, and Patty included an excerpt from the May 2015 town board minutes, at which time was the Gary Phillips request at 5776 West Bald Eagle Boulevard for a graduation party. In that particular time, it was from 12 noon to 10 p.m. Ordinance 17, Section 1-9, A through E, provides a procedure for such requests. No parking zone waiver permits. Residents can apply for a permit to lift no parking restrictions. The non-transferable permit may be acquired from the town clerk for specific dates and shall expire upon such dates stated in the permit. Permits will only be issued as long as there is no undue interference with traffic safety or create serious problems during the use of the permit. The process is residents shall submit a permit request to the town board at least 1 week prior to a regularly scheduled town board meeting. Well, the applicant just realized today, and so it was 4.5 hours before a town board meeting. The application shall set forth the following information: names, address, phone number of the applicant. That was provided. If the proposed use is to be conducted for, on behalf of, or by an organization, in this example, it's not an organization, it's just the individuals. 3, the date and duration of time for which the requested use of the street or road is proposed. 4, an accurate description of that portion of the street or road to be used, including a map. And 5, the proposed use described in detail, including a description of the activities planned during the no parking zone waiver. The next section states that once the application is received, town staff will contact the Ramsey County Sheriff's Department, Ramsey County Public Works Department, if it's on a county road, and White Bear Township Public Works staff for their advice regarding the request. Once the permit is approved, it is the applicant's responsibility to obtain the proper signs or hoods from the township's Public Works Department and place them in the affected area specified, then return the signs or boots the next business day. Emergency restoration of no parking zone waiver. The Ramsey County Sheriff's Department or White Bear Township reserves the right to immediately reinstate the no parking restriction if it is determined there is a threat to public safety or the general welfare of the residents of the township. So that's our ordinance. And you can see that as of 2:30 this afternoon, some of those have been satisfied.
Okay. And we have precedents. We've done this in the past
Yes.
a number of times, so. The only wrinkle here is that this is pretty short notice, and we still have to go through the process of notifying the sheriff's department.
Correct.
And get their acceptance. Comments from the board?
Is it worthwhile, or still time to notify the affected residents there so that they're aware that this is going to take place, or doesn't that really matter?
You know, there's no reference to that in the ordinance. Some could be affected through the Townhome Association, I presume, since they are townhomes. But for those on Outerview Trail, I'm not sure. I think there may be a Townhome Association across the street as well. Other than that, it could be mail notice.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that because it really wasn't published prior to tonight on even on our Facebook page, I do not believe that this was an added item. If someone had a concern over it, I'd certainly like to know that. But I think without having to go that route, I'd like to at least have some communication going to the affected houses in that townhome area there that's going to take place. It's just short. It's 1 day.
That's a good, well, actually, it's 2 days.
2 days, yes.
Saturday morning through Sunday night, so pretty well ties up the weekend.
So that's my only concern is
Okay.
neighbor notice.
Ed, this is a sort of a public safety issue. Any comments?
No, but
Okay.
I think Steve has a valid point. I'm sure if it's a neighborhood graduation, they're probably all invited and all know about it, but.
Okay, so is the board inclined to offer approval with a couple of contingencies to provide notification of neighbors and contingent on the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office approval.
I'm willing, I'm ready.
Okay.
Want me to make it?
Sure.
I'd make a motion to approve the no parking zone waiver in accordance with section 1.9 of the ordinance number 17, and approve the no parking zone waiver permit for whatever address we're talking, that's 1259 Greenbrier Court, with caveat that it's based on the conditional approval by the sheriff's review and recommendations, and two, that a notice of a letter or communication go to the affected residents prior to this event.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion's made and seconded. If there's no further discussion, I'll call the question. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. All right, item 9.
Someone here for the open portion.
Item 9 on the agenda is the open portion. Do we have someone that would like to speak? Please identify yourself and your address.
I'm Kathy Wyrock. I live at 4074 Park Valley Lane. And I just had two things I wanted to talk about. One was, so we live on Park Valley Lane, and we're on the corner by White Bear Parkway. And the south side of White Bear Parkway from Preserve to the west, probably 3 or 4 blocks, they don't mow that side of the grass very often. They mow it twice a year. Like our township mows it twice a year. I called last year when it didn't seem like it was getting mowed very often, and I was talked to whoever's in charge there, and they said it's only mowed twice a year there. They'll mow from like Otter Lake on White Bear Parkway all the way down to Preserve, but once they get to Preserve, they stop. And part of the reason I think is because it starts to go, there's a bit of a hill, so I don't know if they need a special piece of equipment.
This is, are you talking about this that's on the south side of White Bear Parkway?
Right,
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
So it's White Bear Parkway on the south side, so
Okay.
you know, it's on, by the gentleman, by the railroad tracks there and stuff. So basically from Preserve all the way until White Bear Parkway, you know, it starts to curve around and go north, and there's companies there then. So just the spot from Preserve down to that corner. So I guess I'm just curious, is it possible, it seemed like they used to mow it more frequently, more than twice a year. And I'm just wondering, is it possible that they could mow it more frequently? Right now, the weeds are 3 or 4 feet high. And last year, by the time they mowed it the first time, it was getting close up to the stop sign. So just curious, is there a way for them to mow it maybe once a month or more often than just twice a year?
Is that railroad property?
Well, it's town right away, and then it abuts railroad property.
Okay.
So the area that Kathy's probably, I presume, most interested in would be the 10 feet back a curb or something.
Yeah, I mean, right now, some of the weeds are actually going into the street. And I know when they only mow it twice a year, and the weeds get so high, once they do mow a lot.
Who does that mowing?
We do. And
Okay. The road then, you know.
yep. Either Kathy or somebody else contacted our Public Works Department about this last week.
Not last week, yeah, I called last year,
Or, okay, but somebody called us this year too,
did they?
right? So there's more than one of you. All right, so our Public Works Director and Field Maintenance Supervisor, in fact, when I talked to Pete, our Field Maintenance Supervisor, he had been in contact with another resident, I think twice so far in the last week. And so what they're going to do is first put White Bear Parkway as the first on the top of the list of our spring mowing, and see if they can advance the spring mowing, because it's the spring growth that's the most noticeable. And they're also going to see if there are some parts of the town that they can mow more often than twice a year. But I think he said there are about 35 locations where the town just mows the twice a year, just like Ramsey County does on their roadsides. In areas like this, where we can get a standard mower, it's another matter. But where it's steeper and has a different vegetation, they just cut weeds twice a year. But they recognize that this is important in the neighborhood, and they want to customize their weed cutting program to see if they can be more palatable for the neighbors. So they're looking at both stepping it up. In fact, they will step it up at making first place, but if maybe they could start it sooner in the year, before it gets to this point.
Bill, would this be done by the summer help?
No, well,
Or is it
I
Public
don't
Works?
think so. I think it's by our full-time staff, because it requires a special piece of equipment. It's not the same equipment that we use, as Kathy appears to know. Yeah.
And you mentioned the growth gets so high, it does not cover the stop sign,
No,
however.
it doesn't, but it gets, right now, I actually went and measured it before I came to see
Okay.
how tall is it. In some cases, it's over 3 feet, some cases, it's almost 4 feet, so.
Okay.
You can still see the
I-
speed limit sign, you can
I
still
thought
see
you
the
had said
stop sign.
it gets to the point where it
gets
covers,
close, It
well,
gets close, I mean, right now, I don't know when they would be on schedule to mow it, you know.
This
they haven't
week.
mowed- Yeah, they haven't mowed yet this year, you know, but I know last year it got really high, and that's probably what I called last year, but I haven't called this year at all, so.
Well, you've got a friend that's calling for you.
Bill,
Well,
can we have-
I live just north of that area, so I drive that road, maybe not daily, but very often. And I guess I've always looked at that as green space and I let it go at that. But if we are dealing with a potential nuisance situation for the neighborhood, yeah, I think we need to take a look at it. And as Steve was saying, if there's any compromise of safety issues like blocked visibility lines driving down the street, we need to take a look at that. Or if stop signs are obscured, yeah, we need to take a look at that. So it sounds like, Bill, you can have Public Works survey that and,
They're on it.
okay.
Just one thing though,
I-
Bill, can Dale look, I mean, I don't know the expense of mowing it twice a year, but it's odd that weeds are getting that tall. Is there a chance of either spraying or, so it's not a weed that gets that high?
Well,
It
it's
seems odd
grasses
that a weed would
too.
go 4 feet tall.
Yeah, it's a species that holds the soil. I mean, it's doing its job.
Oh.
And it's not intended to be bluegrass.
Yeah, but even prairie grass doesn't get that
Well,
high.
no, prairie grass does get that high. But,
4 feet?
well,
That's what I was, you
Yeah,
know, I've
big-
seen it. I know what
that's
you're
why they call
talking
it
about.
big
It does
blue
get pretty
stem.
high down there, but like I say, my viewpoint was a little bit different. So.
Sure, yeah, I mean, viewpoint, yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I think what we've experienced living across the street from it is that we're getting more weeds growing in our yard as stuff blows over from there. The other thing that seems to happen in the fall time is that the leaves no longer like go over there, you know, they just kind of clutter on the street because they can't get up the curb and then they can't get through the weeds, so it's just a bit of a mess sometimes along there. So one other thing, so since you live in the neighborhood, last week, looked like they were doing some street crack sealing along the way, and Wednesday and Thursday. And what it appeared to me was that, I was home on one of the days, it really didn't seem like they were sealing the cracks. It looked like they were actually making cracks and then sealing those. I mean, I watched them as they drove down White Bear Parkway, and it was, and I don't think it was a White Bear Township truck, it was a different company, maybe, I didn't.
Contractor.
independent contractor. Yeah.
All right. I mean, the roads were redone 5 years ago, and there's been a few cracks here and there, and I think when we walked the neighborhood often enough, and I've seen a couple larger cracks and stuff, but it seemed like they were driving down, and the one guy would score the road, and then another guy, you know, he'd go all the way across. It didn't look like they were looking for specific cracks. They'd score it, they'd fill it, they'd tape it, they'd go X amount forward, they'd do it again. And so now throughout the neighborhood, there's these scored lines all over the place, and they're definitely not places that I recall seeing huge cracks. And I know on our road, we live on Park Valley, you know, right at the corner there. And when they redid the roads, they did the tar, I think they probably did White Bear Parkway first, and they did up, let's say 15 feet into Park Valley Lane. And so there was a line there, you know, from when the one pavement was there, and then when they did the asphalt for Park Valley Lane. Well, they actually treated that as if it was a crack, even though it was just the asphalt line or whatever, and they scored that, and then they filled it in again. Well, if you were to walk around the neighborhood, they didn't fill the cracks well, and you know, when they scored it, they didn't fill it well, so there's gaps and holes all over the place. I can only assume they're going to be putting down that gravel stuff in our neighborhood soon or
Yeah,
something like
seal
that,
coat,
maybe?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So what it looks like to me, and I could be totally wrong, I'm not an expert at this, but it looked to me as if they were making cracks, filling them up poorly, and then cracks that I know have been there forever, they didn't do anything about, you know? There were cracks down by a block away by Parkway Ponds that I had told somebody about the summer when the asphalt was put in, and those cracks are still there, and the company that came out to do this crack and seal, they didn't touch that stuff there at all, so.
Yeah, they've done the neighborhoods. They did a couple of strips in front of my house, so I know what you're talking about. And it's prep. My assumption was, and it should look like they were prepping the streets for the seal coat, and sealing those, filling in those cracks to eliminate the water seeping in the streets. Bill,
I'll just talk.
a contractor's doing that work, but does Public Works inspect that
Oh,
work?
Well, I sure expect so, but we don't have Dale here to explain to us his process. But I've recorded that in Kathy's observation, they're creating cracks where there weren't any. They're doing,
So, not like that, I mean, the neighborhood right now looks as if there are like these severe cracks on every road, every, I don't know, 40 feet or whatever it was. It just seemed ridiculous when I saw all these lines. I couldn't figure out what they were doing.
well,
It seemed more like they were creating cracks than fixing cracks.
it's, what you'll get is a report from our Public Works
Okay.
Department, because sometimes they see things that you may not. But, I mean, to hear it here, creating cracks where there weren't any, doing a poor job of filling and missing the big cracks, that's pretty serious. And our Public Works Department is gonna take that very seriously.
Somebody comes out and takes a look at it and takes a look at these areas where they scored it or whatever. I don't, to my looking at it, it's not filled very well at all. There's wells, there's open areas there, so.
Don't worry, we got their attention. When something like this comes to a public meeting, we get their attention.
Right. It's just sad because the roads really weren't, they didn't have that many cracks on it. Now it seems weird, you know.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, thanks for giving us the heads up. Well, somebody will be out there looking at it. I will be out there looking at it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. No more open time comments. Is there a motion to receive agenda materials and supplements?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We are adjourned.
You want to talk some more, Ed?